Nia, you reminded me of my time in the Negev. I was the only person in the Negev to wear a tie and jacket for 30 days. It was memorable, and the people who saw me didn't believe it. I don't believe it either. Secondly, I want to say that I have never practiced a speech so much, and when they told me that I had to make a 30-minute speech, I said impossible, impossible. Yeah. Cut it half. But frankly, I am very, very honored. It's a very special time to receive this award tonight, and for many reasons. It places me in the company of some really great protectors of Israel and Jerusalem, many of you spoke about tonight. It allows me to be with all of you in this room, including Jerusalem's mayor, Nir Barkat, a very special person. He speaks English better than I do. But the main reason I'm honored is that this award is connected to Ingeborg Rennert. There are few individuals who have done more to help the Jewish people than my friends Inge and her husband Ira. You see the Rennert name in many places throughout this country and around the world, on buildings, on schools, on medical centers. But there's something that you don't see. You don't see the countless people who are helped every day by the Rennerts. People who don't even know where the help comes from. This, of course, is the highest form of Jewish giving. And Inge and Ira exemplify this great tradition every minute of every day. Thank you, Inge, and thank you, Ira. Thank you for your generosity. And thank all you do for the Jewish people. At a time, there are those who try to rewrite history, when they try to tell a terrible lie, that there was never a Jewish claim to Jerusalem. The Rennert Center at Bar-Ilan University uses facts, not fiction, to preserve the truth. And we are grateful, very grateful for that. Thank you, Reverend. I want to take a moment to reflect on a tragic event in Orlando, Florida. From Tel Aviv to Paris to Orlando, terrorists want to destroy our way of life. But I am confident that good people of all faiths will reject hate and violence. Which brings me to the topic of my talk tonight, the future of the Jewish people. This may seem like a difficult time to approach this question. We are probably at the most dangerous moment since World War II. From the Middle East to Europe and around the globe, there is great danger. That's true. But I also see great opportunity. So I think it's exactly the right time to ask the question, Afo Anachnu. I learned that in Ms. Bergman. Where are we? And more importantly, where are we going? I want to give and to begin with an old story from December 1899. A Jewish boy is sitting at home and calls out to his mother, "Great news, Mom! The 20th century is coming Thursday night." The boy's mother looks up, probably over pots of matzo ball soup, and says, "Whatever it is," she calls back, "it probably means more trouble for the Jews." There you have it in a nutshell. The age-old Jewish dilemma, tremendous optimism tempered by reality. As it turned out, They both were right. The 20th century saw unbelievable miracles, including the return of the Jewish people to our homeland after 2,000 years of exile. But it also gave us Auschwitz. So, 71 years after the liberation of the camps, 68 years after the founding of Israel, and 16 years into the 21st century, optimism or pessimism, which way do we turn? Let me begin with some numbers. We are just 15 million people worldwide. That's 15 million Jews in a world of over 2 billion Christians, 1.5 billion Muslims, and 1 billion Hindus. 15 million is tiny. We were exactly where we were in 1922, almost 100 years ago. I don't exactly call that growth. In the United States, when I was born, Jews made up 4% of the population. Today, we are less than half that. 1.8% of all Americans are Jewish. Now, our numbers are shrinking, except for the Orthodox and the Jews in Israel. The Jewish birth rate is below replacement levels in North America and Europe. In the United States, the intermarriage rate remains at 50%, and in some places, it's even larger. Too few Jewish children are being born, and too many of those who are born have no Jewish identity. While the demographics are deeply troubling, the challenges hardly stop there. Over the last 20 years, and for the first time since the Holocaust, anti-Semitism is acceptable again. Right after World War II, nobody said these things in public because no sane person wanted to be associated with the Nazis. But 70 years and 3 generations later, educated people, sophisticated people, people who should know better, say the same old outrageous things about Jews in newspapers, on television, and most importantly on the internet. Things they would never say about other groups. But unlike anti-Semitism of the past, today it comes not just from the far right, but increasingly it comes from the far left. And the new target for this age-old hatred is not the international Jew, as Henry Ford called us. Today, it is the Jewish state of Israel, which is constantly vilified through the media, on the internet, and at the UN, and on almost every college campus. Call it BDS, or Students for Justice in Palestine, or major elements of the British Labour Party. It's still the same old hatred of Jews. Anti-Semites are not very creative. They still blame all the world's problems on us. Only now, it's Israel that's behind everything. From 9/11 to the Charlie Hebdo attacks, they use the same old ridiculous blood libels. But now it's Israel that kills children for body parts. Whatever is wrong in this world, Israel is at fault, according to today's anti-Semites. This is no longer a fringe element of society. So let's make one thing clear, crystal clear right now. When someone says they are not anti-Semitic, they're only anti-Israel, that is a lie. When you hold Israel to a different standard, when you lie about Israel, its past, its present, and its people, and when you want Israel to disappear, that makes you an anti-Semite, pure and simple. And the sad truth is, Israel cannot turn to the UN for support against anti-Semitism. The world's only global body, the United Nations, is a cauldron of anti-Semitic bigotry. That's a great irony when you stop to think about it. The UN was founded 70 years ago out of the carnage of World War II. It was founded on the broken bones of the Jewish people. It was founded so that the human destruction forced on the Jewish people would never happen again. So it is completely unacceptable that the UN, of all places, singles out Israel with lie after lie after lie. In Syria, there are 500,000 dead and counting. Iran is the largest sponsor of terror in the world. The list of tyrants and dictators is so long, it's mind-boggling. And last year, the UN General Assembly adopted 20 resolutions against Israel and 3 for the rest of the world combined. Let me repeat that number. 20 for Israel, 3 for the rest of the world combined. The UN has lost its legitimacy. It is incapable of stopping war, it is incapable of stopping any conflict. Too often, it is actually counterproductive. The problems that we face as a people in 2016 are very real. They are not imagined. But there is something absolutely vital that everyone in this room should remember. Today, our destiny is in our own hands. It wasn't always that way. In the 1930s, the founders of the World Jewish Congress had to beg the rest of the world for help. In 1936, they gathered in Switzerland to bring the growing threat of Nazi Germany to the world's attention. That was the time of the founding of the World Jewish Congress. And their cry fell on deaf ears. 6 years later, in 1942, Gerhard Riegner, the new Secretary General of the World Jewish Congress, alerted the world to the Holocaust. And again, that cry fell on deaf ears. Today, the world's attitude towards us may not have changed, but one thing has definitely changed. We have changed. Now, quote my people. You got my speech with you. The era of the quiet Jew, the timid Jew, the ghetto Jew is long over. Those tough leaders of the early Zionist movement buried that Jew 3 generations ago, and he's not coming back. I could continue to recite the very serious problems that the Jewish people face today. You all know them. You think about them all the time. Instead, I'm going to tell you what I intend to do about them. I wanted to give you my vision for the future of our people. I want to tell you how the World Jewish Congress has changed, because the problems facing the Jewish people have changed. Each generation of Jews faces new challenges, and we must constantly adapt to the times. That is exactly what we are doing. We are facing today's problems with clear eyes, and we are responding with a vibrant, creative core of activists. First, some obvious facts. The World Jewish Congress does not have an army to defend the Jewish people. It is not a global economic power like Israel, but we have tremendous political clout, and we're not afraid to use it. As president of the World Jewish Congress, I have visited over 40 countries in the past few years. I have met with world leaders and ordinary Jewish citizens. I tell them about all the great things that Israel has accomplished. I explain why it's in their interest, strategic and economic interest, to side with Israel. I explain what Jerusalem means to every Jew in the world. Also, there are 54 countries in Africa. Many of them would be willing to vote for Israel. And in fact, many of them did just yesterday on a key UN vote. At the same time, we are not afraid to speak out, as we did in Hungary and Greece, to protect the Jewish community from the growing threat of the far-right neo-Nazis. Also on top of my agenda, I intend to make our young people proud of their heritage again. I want them to have the same pride that we had when we were younger, when we saw miracles that this amazing young country accomplished. The World Jewish Congress has created a Jewish diplomatic corps of young people, ages 25 to 45. We have trained them to act as emissaries for the Jewish people in their home country. I've worked with these young people, and believe me, they will make you proud. They're energetic, committed, and they will change things for the better. There are some here tonight. I'd like them to please stand up, wherever they are. Over here. There are 250 of these young people from many different countries. We want that to increase that number to 1,000 children. They will be from every Jewish community throughout the world. Next, I want to tell you about another group I support. It's called Lawfare. God knows we have an abundance of smart Jewish lawyers. We have more than we need. We have drafted the brightest among them to fight the BDS movement in court, because it's actually illegal to discriminate against any one people. We have the law on our side, and in many countries, especially in the US, where anti-Semitism is illegal, our lawyers are going after BDS in courts and around the world, and they are winning case after case after case. Besides going after BDS, the lawyers for Lawfare are hitting back in global trade. One example is Kuwait Airways. No one with an Israeli passport was allowed to fly on Kuwait Airways, especially on the route between the United States and Europe. Lawfare brought suit against them, but faced with the choice of accepting Israelis, they instead chose to cancel all US European flights. And now they decide to cancel all inter-European flights. Such is the depth of the anti-Israel sentiment. But that is what Lawfare is doing. It's fighting against and winning. For years, I'm looking at Dory now, I wanted Israel to create a ministry of Hasbara, because we are allowing our enemies to define the narrative for the entire world. I'm tired of waiting, so now we are creating a Hasbara section in the US. Some of the brightest and most creative people in ad agencies are Jewish. Jews practically invented public relations. There is absolutely no reason for us not to have great PR. We will bring together the best people. I'm not used to Jewish audiences applauding so much. The Christians applaud. We will bring together the best people from the top agencies, and now, and we, not our enemies, will define who we are. On another front, I want to start a Jewish Peace Corps that will send young Jewish volunteers to Jewish communities around the world, from Ukraine to Bolivia to Albania. I want to tell you my Albanian story for a second. We went, Rob and I, to Albania, and we met the head people of the Albanian Jewish community. So I said to them, oh, that's a lot of people. How many people are in Albania Jewish? They said. And they counted them. We met the entire Albanian Jewish community. And they were all part of the direction of it. Young Israelis and young Jews from diaspora, just out of college and not sure what they want to do, will be trained to help the Jewish people. And at the same time, they will also learn something about their own Jewishness. We are also in the process of creating a website where all anti-Semitic behavior on college campuses can be reported, from the outrageous anti-Semitism of professors to the bullying by anti-Israel campus groups. Students will have a place to go to report these incidents, and we will act. We are also hiring recent graduates and sending them back to the universities to train current students to fight back. One more thing while we're on the subject of colleges. Jews are some of the biggest givers to these schools. So when an anti-Semitic professor is excused by college administrators, we will encourage Jewish funders to hold up every dollar until the alma mater cleans up their mess. Colleges would never tolerate a professor saying racist things about another minority group. So why is it okay to say these things about Israel? There is something else that I see in the future that I want to share with you tonight. Those of you who know me know I've always defended the Jewish people and the state of Israel. I have never stopped defending our people. I will tell you right now, we cannot move forward with the status quo. There will be more terror, and that is no way to live. The one thing I've come to believe is that a valid, viable, and real two-state solution will give Israel the protection it deserves. I'm fully aware of all the problems. I'm fully aware of all the problems on the other side. I'm not blind. This must be negotiated with clear eyes. I'm not even talking about peace. Peace will take time. What we seek is an end of conflict and an end of claims. We have to reinforce Resolution 242 at the UN. And we must stop any resolution that is unfair to Israel in the Security Council. So here's my answer to my original question. Should we be optimistic or pessimistic? The answer comes in two photographs. You see them? The first is an iconic photograph from the Holocaust. You've all seen it. A frightening boy in short pants with a cap on his head walks out of the Warsaw Ghetto with his hands raised. Nazi stormtroopers with automatic weapons stand nearby smiling. We see this Jewish boy who represents 1.5 million other Jewish children who perished. 6 million Jews altogether. And our hearts break because we cannot help him. We cannot save him. We can do nothing for this frightened boy. But imagine this. What if an angel came down at the moment the photo was taken and told this boy, listen to me, in less than 10 years, there'll be a Jewish state and a homeland of our forefathers. There'll be a Jewish army and a Jewish Air Force and a Jewish Navy to defend Jews. Jewish soldiers will fall from the sky to rescue Jews in far-off lands, and this country will open its doors to every Jew on earth that needs help. Have faith, little boy, God is watching us. You think the boy could have possibly believed that it's the same Jew? Would you have believed him at the time? Here's my point. We have to constantly remember what we have and what we have accomplished. We have to remember how far we have come. Today, we can fly to Tel Aviv on a Jewish airline with a bold blue Star of David on the side for a whole world to see. It's flown by a Jewish pilot, and all we have to do is complain about the food. We must never, ever forget what we have earned, what we fought for, and what we have accomplished. There is one more photograph. It's also in black and white. In my mind, it's a story of the Jewish people. The picture was taken by the great Israeli photographer, Bar-Ilan. It was shot in Kfar Saba refugee camp in 1958. A young female soldier is teaching one of the Israelis' new immigrants how to count in his new language, Hebrew. There were over 1 million new immigrants who steamed into Israel in those early years, but we never hear about them. That's because these Jews were not left in refugee camps for the rest of the world to feed and clothe. They were not fed lies and hate. They were not turned into political pawns. They were full citizens of their new land. They were educated, taught skills, and welcomed with open arms. When they arrived in the first Jewish nation in 2,000 years, they were all told just one thing: welcome home. These two photographs take us from devastation to strength. Never forget our strength. Never forget our amazing achievement. Never forget what came from our sacrifice, our hard work, our blood, and our belief in God. What I see for Jews everywhere, not just in Israel, but everywhere, is that a part of my vision for the future. I see young people reconnected to their people, walking with their heads held high, proud of their heritage, proud of what we have accomplished, proud of being Jewish. I see the vibrant creativity of the Jewish people, admired by the world. I see the Jewish state of Israel, not vilified, not boycotted. I see a country that everyone wants to copy. We belong to a people who have disproportionately advanced civilizations. Jews gave the world monotheism. Jews saved lives, all lives. Jews make the world better with their ingenuity, their music, their literature. We make up less than 1% of the world's population. Yet we have won 20% of all Nobel Prizes. We may be only 15 million people. We have an incredible arsenal in those 15 million. We have thousands of years of tradition. I would happily take our 15 million creative minds over the billions elsewhere. Tonight, I have given you a long list of challenges. I have told you about my vision, and I will leave you with hope. The Jewish people are not going to disappear. We have come too far for too long to just disappear. This is not part of God's plan. But we can't leave it to him completely in his hands. He expects us to do the work, but that he has supplied us with the means. We will use that brilliance in Jewish creativity to solve our problems. Today I've discussed a number of concrete steps to fulfill my vision for the Jewish people. And the common thread that runs through each of these efforts is that they are focused on the next generation. We need to teach our young people to be proud of their Jewishness and be proud of Israel, because they are our future. From fighting the lies told on college campuses and using social media to tell the truth about Israel, to expanding Jewish diplomatic corps, to creating a Jewish Peace Corps that sends young people to communities throughout the world, to creating cutting-edge app where students can report anti-Semitic activities on the campus. All these efforts are geared towards an overreaching goal of encouraging young people to embrace their Judaism and embrace Israel. Finally tonight, I want to leave you with an old Hasidic tradition that every Jew, a flame burns. Sometimes that flame is obscured and the person can't see it, but it's always there. It's always burning. All you have to do is dust it off and you will find it. 35 years ago, when I served as U.S. ambassador to Austria, I saw a group of Jewish children from the Soviet Union in a nursery school learning about their heritage for the first time. I can't really explain it, but those children moved me in a way I have never been moved before. Those children helped me find that Jewish flame inside my heart. They helped me rediscover my Jewishness. This is a job before us now. We have to help our children and our grandchildren dust off their hearts. We have to help them rediscover that Jewish flame inside them. This isn't just important for Jews, it's important to everyone, Jews and Gentiles, because for over 5,000 years, that flame has been lighting the entire world. This is my directive to all of you from Jerusalem, the city that is promised to us by God, built by King David, won back by the blood of our soldiers 49 years ago. The Golden City is the heart of every Jew for thousands and thousands of years. Do not let that flame go out. We've come this far, and the stakes are too high. We must never let that flame go out. God bless you, Ira, Inga. God bless all of you.